Welcome back to Unaware Commentary, the place for Pokemon TCG battle narration that doesn't care about the stats. Welcome back, trainers, to another exciting Pokemon TCG battle narration here on the channel. We are catching up with our players here as they are taking a look at those opening hands, looking for a basic Pokemon to put in the active position to start the game. We have player 1 on our left with the Ho-Oh mat, player 2 on our right with the Mega Charizard X mat. Just setting out those prize cards, those 6 cards that you won't have access to in the game until you start taking knockouts. Looks like our player 1 is starting with a Team Rocket's Honchkrow in the active, as well as a Team Rocket's Articuno on the bench, going into the deck with a couple of Pokepads here to find 2 non-rule box Pokemon and place them into the hand. Likely that those may find their way onto the bench as we are trying to get set up here in the early game. Looks like our player 2 starting a Duskull in the active position. Could be indicative of a few different decks here. Looks like the grabbing of a Honchkrow and a Honchkrow for the follow-up turn here. Possible we're just trying to get as many item cards out of the hand as a Duskull may indicate the playing of the Dragapult EX deck, and Badoo loves to see item cards stuck in the hand. Looks like the playing of a Roto Stick here, looking at the top 4, trying to find some supporters, finding a Team Rocket's Ariana, revealing that to our player 2, and then shuffling back up the deck. Team Rocket's supporters are the lifeblood of this Team Rocket's Honchkrow deck, able to escalate the damage of its primary attacker and its secondary attacker as those hit the discard pile, but we will just see a pass over to our player 2, no energy attachment for the turn. Buddy Poffin and going straight into the deck, trying to see what resources may be available as we look for those 270 HP or less Pokemon. We do see Badoo hit the bench and a Dreepy find its way onto the bench here as well. Looking here to see what resources may be available as far as Dusknoirs, Dusclops, rare candies, maybe even, as these Dusknoir decks have started to play a larger rare candy count. We do see the attachment of a Dark Energy, the benching of a second Duskull, and a Lily's Determination going into the deck. Like the Dark Energy placed on that Duskull just to be allowing it to retreat this turn, probably trying to get that Badoo to the active position. Many Dragapult decks have been changing their energy counts as of late, adding extra fires or extra darks, not only for the utilization of Monkey Dory, but to be able to have that extra energy on turn 1 that can be utilized for that retreat without losing out on too many resources. Do see the playing of a Buddy Poffin going back into the deck, definitely getting a fully set up here, getting that bench right where we want it to be, finding 2 more Dreepies onto the bench, have the whole squad present, 2 Duskulls, a Badoo, and a couple of Dreepies here. Shuffling up the deck, checking the hand, see if maybe there are any other item cards to be played that do not demand going into the deck before we see the retreat and Itchy Pollen here. Looks like it is just going to be the retreat, taking off that Dark Energy, promotion of the Badoo, and Itchy Pollen going to be going into that Team Rocket's Honchkrow, dealing a 10 damage and making it so that item cards cannot be utilized by our player 1 this turn. Probably why we saw so many of those Pokepads get thrown away early. To see the evolution of that active into a Honchkrow EX, the playing of a Team Rocket's Factory, playing of a Team Rocket's Ariana. Look like 3 cards in hand, so we'll have 5 cards drawn, up to 8 in that hand. You see a couple item cards in that hand. Those are not going to be available to our player due to the Badoo's Itchy Pollen, so not going to be able to shrink that hand at all. Oh no, do not see an energy in the hand. Do see the benching of that Team Rocket's Mimikyu onto the bench. A good pivot Pokemon for this deck, but no energy means no attacks. We're just going to see the pass back over due to the item lock, not able to thin down that hand any further. You see the playing of a Pokepad by our player 2 after the draw, going into the deck, finding a non-rule box Pokemon into the hand. Does look like it's going to be that Dracloak that is going to find its way onto a Dreepy onto the bench, and a second Dracloak from the hand, evolving a second Dreepy. No recon directives quite yet. Gonna Crispin first, go grab some energies out of the deck. 2 different energy types, one being accelerated into play, one to the hand. Does look like a fire and a psychic energy being chosen by our player 2 here. Will be interesting to see where those energies find themselves. If we power up a single Dracloak or even the Dreepy, if we are anticipating finding a rare candy and a Dragapult this turn, we do see those both land on the Dreepy, one as the acceleration from the Crispin, one as the attachment for turn. Seeing an Ultra Ball and a Dreepy on the Recon Directive. Now we just need a rare candy and we are off to business. Looks like a Boss's Orders and a Dark Energy, so neither one of those are going to get us that rare candy. We could oh, there's a rare candy in the hand. So we could find ourselves with a Dragapult in play this turn, and we do. Rare candy, Dragapult. The legend is true. A Crispin rare candy Dragapult on turn 2 does exist, and it can find you, players. We do see an Ultra Ball here, discarding what looks like a Boss's Orders. I can't quite see that second card, but it's going to find a Dusclops out of the deck. No second rare candy here, but Dusclops being evolved onto the bench with that Curse Blast ability. It's able to give itself up as a knockout and provide prizes to the opposing player in order to place 50 damage counters onto a benched Pokemon. The Team Rocket's Articuno not protecting from that, the Repelling Veil protecting from the secondary effects of attacks to basic Team Rocket's Pokemon. Just attacks though, so we will see a Phantom Dive here dealing 200 damage to that active Team Rocket's Honchkrow, knocking it out, but none of those damage counters being placed again because of that Repelling Veil, and only basic Team Rocket's Pokemon being present on the bench. Our player 1, happy to see that his items are going to be unlocked here, hopefully able to thin down that hand, put another attacker into play, potentially Dragapult EX with that 310 HP is a tough ask sometimes for our players. It is, 320 HP, excuse me. A tough ask for these Team Rocket's Honchkrow players, as they need to find six Team Rocket supporters in addition to the energies to be able to attack. It can be a lot to ask to find in a hand here. We do see, looks like 4 or 5 supporters in the hand, as well as a Team Rocket's Transceiver and a Roto Stick. So supporters are not short here. Definitely an opportunity to do some big damage here on the third turn of the game. Do see the fetching up of a Team Rocket's Proton. Ariana not going to be a good play here as the hand is filled up. Perhaps Archer not wanting to get rid of some of those resources, just playing the Proton, trying to get as many Pokemon out of the deck, as many cards thinned as possible to try to find those energies off the Team Rocket's factory. Going to be that Articuno, a Team Rocket's Articuno, a Team Rocket's Murkrow, and a Team Rocket's Porygon finding their way into the hand, just determining whether or not there was a need to go back into the deck before playing any additional cards. Possible we see that Roto Stick in the hand played here just to try to pull more supporters off of the top. There is always the concern of hand disruption, but right now we just want to see as many cards as possible, as no energy would mean no attack again this turn. We do see an energy, but it's off the Roto Stick. It would have been the 4th card, so not quite drawable, but obviously not known in the initial, as what's on top of the deck is unknown information to our players. But no supporters grabbed off the Roto Stick, just shuffling those cards back in. Let's see that Team Rocket's factory here, Giovanni and Archer. All of the admins and the boss are present in the hand, or they were. It looks like Proton may not have made it this time. We do see the retreated Team Rocket's Mimikyu into a Team Rocket's Articuno. We do see a Giovanni in the hand, so not too concerned about that Articuno being stuck there and needing to retreat. But we do not want to give up another potential attacker in this matchup in that Murkrow, promoting the Articuno here. Looks like we are back over to our player 1, drawing for the turn, doing some recon directives. Looks like we picked a Psychic Energy on that second one. Didn't quite see the first one, but there are plenty of cards in the hand. Oh man, rare candy, Dusknoir. Looks like those Articunos may not be long for this world. They're going to pull up the Murkrow with that Boss's Orders, commanding that Murkrow to be present. Oh, the popping of the Dusknoir actually on the Murkrow, trying to limit the attackers, that Curse Blast, putting 130 damage counters on that benched Murkrow, taking the knockout and giving up a prize in the process. Both players taking a prize on that turn. Looks like a Pokepad going back into the deck looking for another non-rule box Pokemon, and grabbing a Monkey Dory here. Should our Dragapult or any of our other Pokemon take damage from something like a Risky Ruins perhaps, Monkey Dory in combination with a Dark Energy attached would be able to move those energies around. Also has that Mind Bend attack, useful for some later game shenanigans should there be a need to utilize that. Nope, just gonna be a Phantom Dive though. Again, no damage counters being placed on those benched basic Team Rocket's Pokemon due to the repelling veil of that Articuno. We see the promotion of a Mimikyu to the active, that Team Rocket's Mimikyu. See the drawing of a Night Stretcher to the hand. Going to utilize that Night Stretcher right away, get that Murkrow back on the bench. We are not going to see a Team Rocket's Honchkrow this turn, as there is no means of getting a Honchkrow into play in a single turn, just determining what the support of choice here may be. Again, a full hand, so Team Rocket's Ariana not going to be able to be utilized. Potentially not very many basics in the deck after we have protoned and already set up once this game, so we are going to see the playing of a Petrel, grabbing a Pokepad, as Pokepads is able to grab any non-rule box Pokemon out of the deck. Are just going to see the playing of the Pokepad right away, going back into the deck, determining what Pokemon may need to be grabbed here. Looks like maybe the Porygon 2 being available there. We do know that there's a Team Rocket's Honchkrow in the hand, so that's not going to be immediately necessary. We do see a Team Rocket's Porygon 2 finding its way into the hand, unlikely to find its way onto the bench here, as keeping those Pokemon in their basic form is what is allowing that repelling veil from having the Dragapult place damage counters on them. Team Rocket's Porygon 2 with only 90 HP, so very susceptible to something like a Curse Blast plus a Phantom Dive damage, where the Team Rocket's Porygon, just in its base form, is going to be safe from those damage counters at the moment. We did see Team Rocket's Factory being activated, drawing of a Team Rocket's Giovanni and a Team Rocket's Energy. Team Rocket's Energy being attached to that Mimikyu in the active. Dragapult, a Terra Pokemon. Team Rocket's Mimikyu able to copy its attack with its Gemstone Mimicry. So we are going to see a Phantom Dive come out of that Team Rocket's Mimikyu, taking a knockout of the Bidoof on the bench, placing 3 damage counters on that benched Dracloak, and 200 damage into that active Dragapult. No Clefairy there, so no psychic weakness on the Dragapult. We do see the pass back over after that prize being taken, and the playing of an unfair stamp after the benching of the Monkey Dory. Both players going to be shuffling their hands. Our player 1 drawing only 2 cards, as they are not the active player playing that unfair stamp. Our player 2 drawing 5 cards as the A-spec for this deck, being that Bidoof was knocked out last turn. So good to take prize cards. Potentially not the right play, as that unfair stamp is punishing for this Honchkrow deck, unless we can find one of those supporters that were in that large hand previously. You see 5 fresh resources for our player here. Not going to be all we're seeing, because we will see some more cards with the Recon Directive here. Looks like we're between a Psychic Pokemon as well as a Fire Energy, a second Recon Directive here. It looks like a Psychic Energy, and couldn't quite see the Pokemon there, but the Psychic Energy going to be the choice here, determining what our next play may be. The attachment of a Psychic Energy onto the Dracloak to set up for a second Dragapult should there be a knockout taken here. Playing of an Ultra Ball, discarding a second Monkey Dory, and going into the deck. Can't quite see what that second card is there that we're discarding. We are going to see another Dragapult EX come into play, protecting that Dracloak that had damage counters placed on it by the Mimikyu last turn. Playing of a Lily's Determination, shuffling the hand into the deck, looking at 6 cards as prize cards have been taken. So we are meeting the criteria of Lily's Determination to no longer draw up to 8 cards, only up to 6 cards now. But still 6 resources going to be available to our player here, should we find something like a Dusknoir to remove the Murkrow from the battlefield as a potential attacker. Should we find a Dark Energy to place on that Monkey Dory? Unlikely this turn, as we have seen our supporter played and our attachment for turn. So Dark Energy not going to be an option here. We do see the playing of a Night Stretcher, going into the discard pile, finding that Dusknoir, as previously stated. Curse Blast here, going to knock out that Murkrow. Team Rocket's Murkrow going away. Honchkrow not going to be an option. Prize card taken by both players here. Do see a Phantom Dive coming out. It is going to knock out that Team Rocket's Mimikyu, but those Articuno working hard, protecting that Porygon and each other with the Repelling Veil ability, and no secondary effects from attacks. We do see a Team Rocket's Ariana and a Team Rocket's Transceiver in the hand. We do see the Ariana played with 2 cards in hand, drawing 6 cards. We did see the promotion of that Team Rocket's Porygon, as well as the attachment of an Ignition Energy, hoping to maybe find that Porygon 2 we know was shuffled back into the deck. The attachment of a Brave Bengal to potentially increase damage here. Should we be able to track down that Porygon 2, Brave Bengal doing an additional 30 damage to Pokemon EX when attached to a non-rule box Pokemon. 2 Team Rocket's Transceivers played, grabbing a Giovanni and I think a Proton, but grabbing 2 Team Rocket supporters out of the deck, putting those into the hand as we have the energy. But we are going to need to see a Pokepad or an Ultra Ball or a means of finding a Porygon 2 off of this Team Rocket's factory to be able to do any damage. Nope, that's a Porygon and a Proton. That is not going to do it here, folks. We're just going to see a pass back over to our player 1, a Phantom Dive, taking those knockouts. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.